Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for June 11th, 2024. Well, yesterday turned out, a little bit like expected. Pretty choppy day for most of the day, but we ended up at the through the afternoon, really after the European markets closed, we caught a little bit of a bid and pushed the NASDAQ and the SPY to new record highs. But let's take a look at what happened overnight and see if we can gain a little bit of information for today. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets were mixed but mostly lower. Overnight, we had just kind of an uncertainty about what the Fed is going to do this week and how those inflation numbers are going to be coming in. So really no surprise. European markets are a little bit on the bearish side this morning, red across the board, and one of the reasons is the UK wage growth came in hot, continuing to show that inflationary pressure. And then, of course, there is some major concerns with the election process and what's happening there in France. So we've got bearishness across the board in Europe. U.S. futures are trying to pull back claw back a whole bunch of yesterday's rally overnight. Also showing red across the board this morning with just a little bit of uncertainty as we get ready for the beginning of the FOMC meeting today. If we take a look at oil this morning, oil had a really strong day yesterday, but we're reversing a little tiny bit of that in with oil being down 42 cents at 77.33 a barrel, and Brent being down 38 cents at 81.25 a barrel. Natural gas, however, is continuing to show a lot of strength. If we take a look at like UNG and Boyle continuing to push up here this morning in the pre-market, so pretty nice moves happening in there. If we were to take a quick look at our precious metals, we've got precious metals moving to the downside here this morning. We've got gold down $2.40 an ounce. Silver is down sharply. Copper, platinum, and palladium are all looking lower. And if we take a look at cryptos, well, those cryptos are looking pretty bearish here this morning as well, with Bitcoin at the moment down $2,579 a coin, and red across the board in those cryptos this morning. I'm guessing the culprit of that is going to be strengthening of the dollar. We're seeing yesterday we saw this big old pop and drop came in on the US dollar, but there must be something going on with concerns on the dollar this morning. If we were to take a look at our bond yields this morning, well, they've eased just a little bit, particularly on the 2-year. The 2-year has come down 0.4 from a 4.88 to a 4.84 this morning. So relaxing just a little bit there. A little tiny move down on the 10-year to 4.43 and the 30-year at 4.56 this morning. Clearly still showing that substantial inversion and that uncertainty about what comes next with the FOMC. So watch that closely. We could see those move around here today pretty substantially. Let's take a look at, I guess we've kind of covered all of that data this morning. So how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. Let's take a peek at these charts and see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. And remember, let's try to shake off some of that bias here as we look through these details of the charts and see if we can just look at it for what it is, not for what we want it to be. First off, if we take a look at our diamonds here, we made a nice little push up here yesterday, but you can see in the pre-market, what I kept warning about yesterday, be careful of buying up a whole bunch of positions heading into these data points. And that's just simply because we can do things like this. We can take all of the gains back overnight. And we seem to have done the majority of that here in the diamonds so far, taking those gains back from yesterday all at once. And we do want to recognize the possibility that we could have a lower high setting up here on the diamond, so watch that carefully. Now, if the bulls can continue to find inspiration here, and there'd be reason for that with the data that we have coming, that we could certainly find that inspiration or hope and hold on to this price support, then we would start looking for these tops up here to see if we can break through up in here. We need to break this downtrend here in the chart and start pushing back up to retest this resistance up here. Now that's going to take some data, I think, some good data to change that sentiment and really push us higher. So watch carefully for that possibility here in that chart if those bulls can engage. Beyond that point, you can see our resistance levels up above that we would have to get through. If the bears were to find inspiration here today and push down, well, I mark that right here. I think we need to break this area price support, and breaking that area price support, I think we come down into this area. Beyond that, we probably start looking for some of these areas down here, those possible fills of this gap in here, pushing on down, and then we're looking at these levels down here if the bears were to really get going. Now, if we take a look at our SPY, completely different picture because SPY is holding in its upside trend. It's beautiful here. Made new record high close yesterday, and you can see we're trying to take some of that back this morning. But there's nothing wrong with this because what we're really doing at this point in time is just consolidating in this range, trying to set up that next opportunity that could be easily to the upside here. So big tech continuing to do its job here for sure and doing the majority of the lifting in the market. One thing you will want to notice is that we've had declining volume. We seem to be running into a problem where we're just not getting enough energy here to push us really either direction, and that's how we get that consolidation. Now, if the bulls can find that inspiration today, well, that box, we want to pop that box here. And if we can pop through that box here to the upside, then we've got blue sky highs above, and every reason to believe that that's a possibility. Also, every reason to believe that we're going to continue to rest and chop in here today as we wait for those big data points tomorrow. So be careful once again with buying up too many positions because everything could change Wednesday morning, and I mean quick. Everything could change. So make sure you have a plan to protect yourself heading into those data points Wednesday morning. If the bears were to find inspiration today, well, you can see that area, same thing around that box. We'd need to break that little consolidation area here in the chart, and then we'd start looking lower to see if we can test some of these other levels in the chart, maybe pushing down into here and maybe down to the bottom side of this little consolidation in the chart, and that would be coming in to test our upside trend as support. Breaking down below there is where we're probably going to raise a little bit of fear in the market, but until then, we're still looking very good here. Now QQQ, very much the same, consolidating in this nice tight range. No particular worries here. New record high close yesterday. just barely squeaking it out. And we can see the same situation here. If the bulls find inspiration, popping through up here would be new record highs in the QQQ and blue sky above. If the bears were to come into play, breaking down below this area of the chart would certainly indicate a little bit of pressure, and maybe we start coming back into some of these support areas of the chart that I've got marked here, maybe testing that upside trend. Breaking down below that trend again would probably raise a little bit of fear. And then if we look at IWM, we have opposites going on in here where diamonds and IWM are certainly in patterns that could give us a major concern on bearishness. And that is the case here on IWM, showing us that downtrend going on in here. We may have steepened that downtrend a bit right in here. We have a confirmed downtrend going on with lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows coming into that trade. So our downtrend is confirmed in this move. And we had a really nice bounce up day yesterday, but you can see those bears trying to take a big portion of that back here this morning with that uncertainty and maybe rejecting this area of price resistance. So let's keep an eye on that. If the bears were to really push this lower, first thing we need to do is take out the low of yesterday. And then beyond that point, you can see we're going to run into this congestion area here in the chart, start pushing down and maybe testing this trend line break in here. So watch that carefully. And that's been, this area in here has been really congested here in IWM. So certainly couldn't rule that out. Now, if the bulls find that inspiration today, well, the first step we're going to need to do is push up here and break back through this resistance in the chart. And if we can do that, then we start moving up progressively in here to see if we can come back up here to this next resistance level and maybe even challenging some of these downtrend areas in the chart. We'll need to see if we can start popping those and holding those as support. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX gapped up yesterday morning, but ended up pulling back, showing no fear in the market as we head into that. And particularly after European markets closed, we started to get that little bit of rally going on. But now we have that pressure again from Europe. We have pressure this morning, worried about the FOMC and the CPI number. So watch this carefully. One thing we do want to note, we are very, very low, actually very complacent here in our VIX. And if we notice here real carefully, that possibility that this could become a higher low here in the VIX, that's where we can start to see a little bit of that fear creeping up here. So watch that carefully. This downtrend that was in here, we've kind of slipped beyond that trend in here. So keep a watch on this. If we do get a little bit of concern here today and start seeing this push back up, well, we can see these levels in here where we would be moving. And one of the things I kind of worry about is that possibility that we could move swiftly in one direction on that data. The data that'll be out Wednesday morning, we could move swiftly down or swiftly up. And I'm talking some pretty substantial point moves. They're talking in the S&P 500, an estimate based on the implied volatility of the market that we could move as much as 1.5 points in the S&P 500, not 1.5 points, 1.5%. So kind of keep that in mind. There could be some big point moves that could occur Wednesday. So watch carefully. And the problem is we really don't know which way that's going to go. We don't know if fear's going to come up. We don't know if all of a sudden we feel like, oh, great, the Fed's going to be cutting rates. That kind of thing. Honestly, I think that's unlikely. But that being said, big point moves are possible, and we can even see that in the implied volatility of the options on the indexes. So be careful and be prepared for that possibility. Have a plan to protect yourself. If we take a look at our T2122, our T2122 moved down most of the morning, and we were starting to break down here into the bullish reversal zone. And then once again, kind of after Europe closed, we started to relieve some of that pressure, pushing back up in the chart. So if the bulls can find inspiration today, well, we certainly have a pretty good upside opportunity for those bulls to get moving. But with what we're seeing here in the pre-market at the moment, the bears look like they may take back that little bit of a bounce here yesterday, pushing us back down in here toward that bullish reversal zone. So we'll want to be watching carefully for that and just realizing, man, anything is possible Wednesday morning. If we take a look at our T2108, now our T2108 came in flat yesterday, just really flat, suggesting most of the morning it was pushing down, but really no progress here. We were even on the number of stocks, percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average, those going down and those going up. And you can see we're still well below our 50% area here in that index. If we take a look at this trend, we may still have some hope. We'll hold on to that trend if the bulls can get going. You can see we're wedging in this pattern, but well below that 50% area of the chart, suggesting as bullish as we get this sense that the market is, we've only got 39% of the stocks holding above their 40-day moving average. That's not a bullish condition. It means we have a very select few stocks making the market hold up while the remaining market is seeing some pressure or some selling. If we take a look at our T2107, now T2107 is holding up better. Yesterday had a little bit of decline by the end of the day. These are the percentages of stocks above the 200-day moving average. You'll notice coming here into this trend, and once again, a little downtrend wedging pattern going on in here. The good news here is the stocks above the 200-day moving average still holding well above 50%. So they're trying to hang in here pretty strongly. But what you will want to notice is that the majority of stocks are continuing to weaken here at the moment. And that weakening in here is giving us a false impression. We're getting this masking situation going on with big tech, all on its own, holding two of the indexes up, and the majority of stocks showing weakness moving down. It's being masked. We're getting a false sense, I think, right now of uber bullishness in the market. So once again, be really careful with loading up on too many positions here, particularly heading into this number on Wednesday. And then if we look at our T2101, well, we had a little bit of increase in breadth yesterday. It was pushing up on the selling early in the day, and then as the buyers came in the afternoon, we saw this tip back just a little bit, leaving us that little hockey stick kind of pattern up here in the air. And often those hockey stick patterns like this tend to roll to the downside. Not always, but they tend to. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We're not seeing that big, strong, bullish breadth coming in here to the market, and not a big surprise. We're starting to see companies roll into their blackout period for the next round of earnings and all of this uncertainty. So be kind of careful and keep an eye on T2101. We're looking for some strength in this move. We can't even get strength in the move from the bears. The bears try to push, and they just don't seem to have. They're so lethargic, can't seem to do anything. They're still sleeping, I guess, still in hibernation. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. Our economic calendar very light. We've got the beginning of the FOMC meeting. We've got an NFIB small business optimism report. There, that came in at 90.5 here. So keep an eye on that. That's an improvement up from 89.7. So business optimism coming up here just a little bit. We've got a quarterly services report coming in. Beyond that, it's just bond data. We've got bond announcements. We've got a 52-week bill auction and a 10-year note auction coming up here this afternoon. Then, as we look into Wednesday, this is what everyone's going to be anticipating. Mortgage application, CPI, petroleum status, the FOMC announcement, the Treasury statement, and the FOMC press conference, which, of course, will be pretty substantial in that potential for volatility in the market on these reports. So be prepared and have a plan to protect yourself heading into Wednesday. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar is pretty darn light as well. But we do have a little bit more of notable type reports here today. ASO is really the only notable here this morning. Reporting, and you can see trying to pop back up in here, so keep an eye on ASO. But then this afternoon, our most notable for today is going to be Oracle. Oracle will be reporting this afternoon. Keep a close eye on that. And Casey's General Stores will also be reporting today. Those are the notables for today, so pretty light on that account here. Watch those closely. So how about we take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. And I apologize yesterday, just too many things going on, and I didn't get a chance to answer those comments yesterday, but I will be on that task today. And I also want to let everyone know that I'm going to be doing a public e-learning session tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. You guys are all welcome. Just come over to the Hit and Run Candlesticks website. Right at the top of the page, there is a link to the public room. Come on in. It's open to everyone. No password required. We're going to be doing just kind of a general discussion, and I'd like you to bring some of your charts tonight if you're looking for some evaluation and those kind of things. Do a little price action work here live with you to see if we can help you evaluate those charts just a little bit better. So make sure if you've got the time, come on over to that 8 p.m. Eastern e-learning session tonight. Let's take a look at some of these charts, and remember, guys, that these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Do your own due diligence. Never ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Follow your risk tolerances and your rules of engagement for the market. Remember, we've got some big data coming, so no matter what you do today, could be absolutely reversed tomorrow, so plan your risk very, very carefully. First off, take a look at CrowdStrike, CRWD. Nice big surge yesterday. What's happening here? CRWD is being added to the indexes and will obviously enjoy a lot more attention here being added to the S&P 500. So watch that carefully here. Any rest, consolidation, or pullback now would set up a bullish opportunity to the upside. I'd keep a pretty close eye on that. Looking good overall. As you guys know, I've been kind of keeping a close eye here on PayPal. PayPal still holding up above that alert that I had in here on that chart, now consolidating that rest back in here. I'm going to be watching for that next opportunity to see if PayPal is going to finally engage and move to the upside. But once again, with the data that we have coming, anything is possible, so don't rush to any trade. Make sure you're planning very, very carefully on these positions. Take a look at Boeing. Boeing still setting up here for that nice opportunity. I really like the fact that we're getting a nice tight consolidation in here after this sharp rally. So rest in here in this consolidation, and then I'd be looking for that next opportunity if they can start having some little bit better better circumstances for the company and that corporate culture clean up here a little bit. Maybe Boeing can start recovering and coming back to the upside. They've got some work here to do, so watch Boeing carefully. And then take a look at TSM. TSM had a nice move yesterday, pushing to the upside. Really like the way that chart is looking. Any rest, consolidation, or pullback here would set up that next opportunity. If we take a look at Micron, Micron had a beautiful day yesterday, big old bullish engulfing candle. It is just a little bit away from its trend, so don't be surprised with the volatility that we're going to see here over the next couple of days that this might continue to pull back and fill in this space on this trend, but watch carefully for that next opportunity here in Micron. This is going to report on 6/26, so you'll want to be paying attention to that. One of the things that we have been seeing a lot in tech is anticipation of that earnings report, and we see that little bit of rally to the upside in here, so keep an eye on Micron. Now something a little bit different here in that same sector of big tech is AMD. AMD caught a downgrade yesterday, pulling AMD back into this range, and we're still consolidating this this range in here. Tried to get something going early on in the day and then fell back here. I would watch this carefully. If this falls out of this support of that consolidation, that could be a concern and maybe even an opportunity for a potential short there in AMD. Notice that we have slid past our upside trend that was happening in here, and so a break of that support would be a little bit of a concern here for AMD. You'll want to keep a pretty close eye on that. As you guys know, I'm still looking at some of these big dividend payers, and they're still holding up, looking pretty good. 3M slid past its trend, but as you can see, it's trying to hold in here and show bullishness in that chart. So as long as we can continue to hold these support levels in here, we might be able to see those bulls come right in and continue to push that to the upside. I mentioned these yesterday. Philip Morris is looking really bullish here, moving in that upside trend, that nice little resting consolidation in that pattern, looking very good. I would keep a close eye on that one. I would also be keeping a close eye on Altria, holding in that nice little consolidating pattern, showing that bullishness in here, trying to make those moves to the upside. So watch that closely. Other charts out there, well, we're seeing some interesting patterns here in Alcoa. We were moving in such a nice little upside trend, but I'm starting to see this potential little head and shoulders pattern that is formed here, and we may be breaking this support. So it's going to be critical here that Alcoa hold on to this upside trend. If that were to start to show failure, watch carefully. We could move down pretty quickly into these areas, and we're seeing with the strengthening dollar a lot of problems in these precious metals. GLD breaking support here, just recently breaking this support. We've got a lower high in here and followed by a lower low in the chart, so this is officially in that channeling downtrend. I would watch this carefully. Any rally back up here or any consolidation over could have that potential for that failure to the downside. Watch that one close. Silver getting hammered back a little bit here today, and again, lower high, lower low, showing some bearishness. If we give up this trend and support, I'd be watching carefully in there, and also seeing copper showing quite a little bit of weakness here, pulling back, running in this downtrend. We still have this support, but watch that carefully. If that were to break, we could see those move substantially lower. If we take a look at steel, steel has just fallen completely out of bed. Steel Dynamics breaking down below the support. So any rally back, I think, here in Steel Dynamics, any rally back sets up the next potential short in steel. And as we continue to see that dollar strengthen, that's going to be a problem for us here overall. Now, something interesting occurred yesterday where we had a big surge back up in oil sector stocks, and one of the areas that had a good move was in energy exploration. Rig had a nice big pop in here. I don't think this is ready for prime time yet. You can see we still have a downtrend going on in this chart, and although we are working pretty hard to try and hold a support level in here, I'm still worried about that possibility that we could rally into this resistance and downtrend and still see some selling. So be careful on these trades. About the only thing in energy that is really looking pretty good right now is natural gas. You could take a look at UNG. I think it needs a rest or consolidation before I'd be interested in jumping in. Now, I have a bias here. I'm holding UNG, but watch that carefully. A rest, consolidation, or pullback. If it could break out of this resistance here, that'd be awesome before it consolidates or rests. But keep an eye on that. You could also look at like Boyle in the same kind of pattern, looking pretty good on natural gas. And then last but not least, I'm going to continue to mention Rivian. I'm no fan of EV vehicles at all, but Rivian's been moving in this nice upside move. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is in a market like this, it may be necessary for you to not worry so much about immediate gratification, but looking for a chart that holds in a pattern a little bit longer. Rivian is performing nicely, and at the end of the day yesterday, I think I'm up 37.5% on this Rivian play. Of course, trading options, but looking good in that move. Held this all the way through my vacation and everything, so watch carefully on Rivian. If this were able to push through some of this resistance and then rest, I might even be at the point where I'm ready to pull the trigger and close some of this trade, if not all of it, and just expecting that next consolidation or pullback to occur in the market. And it may be wise to do that anyway, just considering the data points that we have coming tomorrow and the volatility that could occur. Might be a good idea to take profitable trades to the bank and put that money in your account where it's safe and wait for the next opportunity. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all of the best. Thank you so much for listening today, and I will see you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning for that CPI number and FOMC on the day. So think about that carefully, plan your risk carefully, and I'll see you Wednesday morning. Wishing you all the very, very best. Take care, everyone.